You're listening to the Weekend Sport Podcast with Jason Pine from News Talk ZB.
Week 1 of the NRL Finals underway. Qualifying final last night.
Kenny backs back. Cleary. Early kick. Here they come. Here they come. Garner again. And Penrith surely are going to another preliminary final. Garner's got two. Another moment of Cleary brilliance.
Yeah, Panthers 30, Roosters 10. A bit of a hiding, really, and all based on a first half performance which just blew the Roosters away. Brad Walter joins us, one of the more respected voices and pens, or keyboards, we should probably say, in rugby league in this part of the world. Brad, 22-0 after 23 minutes last night to the Panthers. It's basically done and dusted. The game's almost gone. Why were the Roosters so slow out of the blocks last night?
I think there's two things. Yeah, the Roosters were slow out of the blocks. They looked shell-shocked. But the Panthers also were, very, very good with Nathan Cleary back, and, he ran the show. And the Panthers turned into arguably their best performance of the season, or certainly for quite some time. People have been concerned that the Panthers have been flat, and haven't looked sort of maybe as hungry as they have in past years. But they certainly came out last night looking like the team to beat in the final series. The Roosters, unfortunately, have had some serious injuries to key players. Brandon Smith, Sam Walker in particular, no Victor Radley, no Jared Warrior-Hargraves. So, they were obviously under strength, but as I said, key players, two key forwards, two aggressive forwards in Warrior-Hargraves and Radley, and obviously their halfback and their hooker. So, it's going to be a big ask for the Roosters. Everyone knew that before this game. I think most people expected that Penrith would win, but yeah, it was the way that they started, the way that both teams started. To be honest, I think took everyone by surprise, and I think most people are thinking now that the Roosters, they'll play the winner of the Bulldogs Manly. They may go out in straight sets. They might lose again. It's hard to see them winning again next week, although Warrior-Hargraves is back from suspension for possibly his last ever game in the NRL. But yeah, they won't have Walker or Smith back. They're both out with ACL injuries. And the Panthers, they've got a week off now, and they're just basically sitting there. They're one win away from a fifth consecutive grand final. It's an incredible effort, and I don't think it's been done since maybe the 60s when St. George won 11 premierships in a row.
Yeah, incredible from the Panthers. Just on Nathan Cleary, he had quite a time out with injury during the season, didn't he? Came back, about round 20 from memory. He's been out again with a bit of a shoulder. How did he look last night? Was he 100%? I mean, or did he not need to be?
He's as good as he needs to be. I don't know if he's 100%, but and he's probably not, but he's as good as he needs to be. Look, let's remember what he did in the grand final last year in that last 20 minutes when he turned the game on its head, when it looked like Brisbane were going to win, and then Nathan Cleary absolutely took control of that game. He was playing them with a busted shoulder. So he doesn't need to be fully fit. He just needs to be fit enough to be out there. I watched him train briefly earlier in the week, and to be honest, I didn't think he looked completely, or certainly I didn't think he looked 100% fit from just what I saw. I thought, maybe they'll even rest him for another week. It wasn't sudden death for them, but look, he came out and played, and he didn't miss a beat. Or it looked like he just hadn't been out at all. He just picked up where he'd left off, back to his best, and they just looked energised. The Panthers, aggressive forwards led by James Fisher-Harris and Liam Martin, in a really, really slick backline. Dylan Edwards at the back, and obviously Luai and Cleary sort of calling the shots there. Yeah, as I said, they now look like the team to beat, but there's 3 more games this weekend, and once we see the Melbourne Storm, for example, play later on today, we might have a different view.
Indeed. We'll get to that in a sec, but let's go to the 6v7 elimination final this evening or early evening. Bulldogs, Sea Eagles. In fact, that game's tomorrow. That's who the Roosters will play, the winner of Bulldogs, Sea Eagles. Let's go with that game, though. 6v7, always a bit hard to pick. Which way do you think this one is going?
Well, just on form lines, I'm leaning towards the Sea Eagles. They played the Bulldogs only 2 weeks ago, and they were just too big, too strong, too good. Basically, they just dominated in the forwards, and they steamrolled their forwards. And I sort of think, okay, that's the blueprint. It worked for Manly, as I said, 2 weeks ago against the Bulldogs. They're at full strength. They've got Tom Trbojevic back for this match. Cherry Evans is, he's probably arguably in the best form of his career. And he might not be as quick as he was, but he's smart, and he'll run the show, and he'll get his forwards to do the work they need to do. He'll play off the back of that. He's got a fantastic kicking game. Certainly maybe the best long kicking game in the NRL. So he can kick them out of trouble. Great field position, and as I said, they've got Tom Trbojevic and some other really, really good backs. So I just think maybe Manly, the Bulldogs, they've lost their last 2 games, including that one against Manly. They haven't looked great, and a few weeks ago, I think there was a lot of momentum, and the Bulldogs looked, as I said, they looked like a team that could make a run for the finals from outside the top 4. But yeah, what we've seen in the last 2 weeks, I think maybe they might have, they probably exceeded expectations, and if they lose this game, I don't think anybody associated with the club would be disappointed. And I think, whereas I think Manly have probably got higher aspirations and can challenge for the premiership.
All right, 6:05 tomorrow, New Zealand time. Second qualifying finals tonight, Storm v Sharks, 1v4. That's 6:05 New Zealand time, Amy Park in Melbourne. What would the Sharks have to do really well if they're going to win this tonight?
Everything. When you play the Melbourne Storm, you've got to play to the best of your ability, and you need all of your players to do that. But look, the Sharks are in good form as well. They've got all their troops back on deck at the right time of the season, or most of them, although Ramian is out in the centres, but they've still got a very strong team. Nico Hines and Braden Trindle are back to lead the team around, are back together. The Sharks did beat the Storm down in Melbourne. It doesn't happen very often. It's happened twice this year, and the Sharks did it, and they did it pretty comprehensively earlier in the season. So I give them a chance. I'd be confident they'll go down there. As I said, they're playing good football at the right time of the year. They've played a lot of games without key players, as has the Melbourne Storm, and that's what's so impressive about them. But as I said, the Sharks they've done that. They played a fair bit of. Nico Hines has been out for quite a while, and Braden Trindle has really stepped up. Daniel Atkinson as well when he was there, so he's going to be on the bench tonight. As I said, I think I give the Sharks a chance, but it's going to be really hard to do this down in Melbourne. And look, Melbourne have got Ryan Pappenhausen back. Munster and Hughes have had a few games together now, along with Harry Grant. So they've got their key players back on deck. It hasn't happened very often. I think they might have played 8 games together this season, which is about a third of the season for those key spine players. Jerome Hughes is in career best form. He's the favourite for the Dally M medal. Munster, and that really, that means they're not relying on Munster. That means, and they haven't. He's missed a lot of football. He's only played 14 games this year. But Munster's back. He's a dangerous player. If you've got if Jerome Hughes is running the show, then Cameron Munster can just pop up when he needs to, and he's always a threat. Harry Grant, arguably the best hooker in the NRL, and then Ryan Pappenhausen at the back, who once he gets in a little bit of open space, he's very hard to stop. Xavier Coates is on the wing. Will Warbricks, they've got 2 big tall wingers that they can kick to, and a forward pack that he's probably a lot of underrated players or unheralded players in that forward pack, and but they all do their job. And that's the thing with the Melbourne Storm. It doesn't matter who plays for them; they turn up and they compete every week. And during the season they won a lot of close games, really close games, 1 and 2 point matches, even games that they snatched at the death. So it doesn't matter how tight the game is. They're always going to be in the contest. So I think this is going to be a ripping game.
And later tonight, elimination final up in Townsville. Cowboys Knights. North Queensland win this, don't they?
I think so. I think it's it's hard to win. It's hard to travel to North Queensland and get a win, especially at this time of the year when you're in a sudden death finals match. The Knights played. I think they played their grand final, so to speak. Last Sunday they played the Dolphins in the last match of the round, which was effectively, it was a playoff for 8th spot. Winner got eighth spot. So the Knights, they won that game, But now they've got to go and play an actual real sudden death game. They just qualified to play in sudden death football, and now they have got a sudden death game. They've got to travel to Townsville. They're getting a charter flight up there, but it's still, it's still 3 or 4 hours to Townsville from Newcastle. The humidity, I think, will be quite high up there, and the crowd will be totally against them. And Newcastle, they snuck into the 8 with a couple of wins at home at the end of the season. They've got great support in Newcastle, but they're not going to have much support in Townsville, and they do get behind the Cowboys up there as well, who I think are playing. They've started to find their best football at the right time of the year as well. So it's only a month or so ago that Todd Payten made a big call to drop Chad Townsend and bring Jake Clifford in the halfback, and since then they've really got on a roll, and that's turned out to be a masterstroke by Todd Payten. Finals football, nothing like it. Always enjoy chatting league with you, Brad. Thanks for taking the time. Hey, likewise, Piney. Enjoy the footy. Yeah, enjoy it too, Brad. I know you will. It's week 1 of the finals. Brad Walter there joining us. Panthers 30, Roosters 10 last night, so Panthers into the preliminary final. The Roosters, meantime, will wait a week and play the winner of the Bulldogs Sea Eagles game tomorrow. 2 games today, Storm Sharks at 6:05 and Cowboys Knights at 9:50 tonight. The first of those games, the Storm Sharks, is a qualifying final, so the winner will go through to the preliminary final. The loser will get a second crack next week against the winner of the Cowboys Knights game up in Townsville.
For more from Weekend Sport with Jason Pine, listen live to News Talk ZB weekends from midday or follow the podcast on iHeartRadio.